Welcome to the Early Years Spark podcast. I'm Tati Bueno, and this is my co host.
Konstantina Moustaka. Hello, everyone.
Today is what we've been really waiting for and really excited about.
The second part of our episode with Clare Stead, isn't it?
Yes, it is. So, our conversation was so amazing that we had to cut into 2 episodes for you. So, here it is, a second part. Enjoy.
Enjoy. Yeah.
Who you're having in a toddler room is built on the foundations of the baby room you provide.
Mm-hmm.
If you're having problems in your toddler room, go back to your baby room, have a look at what you're not doing there. And if it's not working there, go back to what you're doing with your parents and what support are you providing to your parents on a daily basis from the earliest connection you have with those parents. Because the answer lies there. The answer lies in the foundations. I'm a year 4, 5, 6 teacher, and I am working down here. Why am I working down here? Because I kept seeing the same problems in the bigger classrooms. I can't bear watching children fail. It's horrendous. Failure is horrendous because the failure of a child, also you watch the failure of the parent, and the parent feels a failure. They're the one alone in the playground. They've got no friends. Their child is not invited to the parties. It's hideous. And they know they failed, and they feel it so deeply in their core. And we could solve so many of the issues that we see today by just going back to the beginning and supporting our parents from the very beginning. The Kindred Squared do an amazing, slightly terrifying piece of research once a year on school readiness. School readiness report, really recommend you take a look at it. Scary stuff. And what you'll find is statistics that show you that kids aren't ready for school. What a surprise. No news there. But this year, they also look at parents. They ask parents the same questions. And this year, one of the questions they asked was, how many health visits have you had? And on average, it's between 0 and 2. So that means potentially, if you've taken a child in the earliest of days, you are the first consistent professional that family has come across who knows anything about child development, which means that it makes our role as child development specialists, which is the bit that we seem to have forgotten, really, really important. We're not activity developers. We are child development specialists who use activity and play to support development. And until we build practitioners who understand that, and it starts with our apprentices, and that's why the Aliki app is being used in nurseries to support staff, because what they're doing is they're taking an activity, so they need a maths activity, they find a maths activity and they write it down in their planning, and they say what they're going to do and when they're going to do it and who they're going to do it with. Great. Put a little Aliki O next to it. Now, as a manager, I can go in and say, tell me about the learning and development that's happening in this activity, because Aliki provides that for the practitioner. So they now know, they should know, it's professional development. They should understand, it's written in there. There's a whole section on why you're doing it, the science behind it, and a link out to more information. So that practitioner should have a detailed series of information that they can share about the development that is happening as a result of that activity. That then gets shared with the parents, which goes back to at the end of the day. So instead of saying, we did sand, you say, I was developing your child's wrist and hand control. So we went in the sand and we were picking up the sand and dropping it and doing various, pouring in the sand with buckets. Which goes back to one of your earlier questions, which says, how do we show parents we're not just doing play? It's in those conversations. And how do we make that happen without spending a shed load on consultants who are going to come and teach us each of the things? Is through these tiny activities every single day, and just choosing one, focusing in on it, really getting it embedded and understanding, and you start looking at play in a different way. When you do that, now you're upskilling your staff on a daily basis. Those staff spread the word to their parents. Parents are using the app in their practice every day. You in the nursery say, oh, send us your pictures of you doing the activities. We're going to now make a display of you brain building and developing your child's capabilities. We're going to label that on the front entrance, in the front entrance hall. Look, we're baby brain builders. Here's Jane baby brain building with her Harry in the bath by doing splashing and whatever it is that was the focus of that activity. Send out the newsletters that come with the Aliki app that say, you know, we're brain building and this is what we're doing. Put it on your socials. This is what we're doing. Now we're bringing that whole loop, that whole professionalism. Now, as a parent, I'm not sending my child to go and play. I'm sending my child to go and develop.
I think that in general, we lack the knowledge of the brain building side of everything that we do, because we can see with our staff that how much they struggle to justify an activity. Like, so, okay, so what's your intention? I'm working on fine motor skills. Okay, but what kind of fine motor skills? Why is it fine motor skills? So I think it does come back to what you were saying, that for apprentices and the practitioners, we need to understand why we're doing what we're doing. And I think that at the moment, most people just don't.
No, they don't. And it's because we've gone to, it's where I started in the beginning, we've gone to activities rather than development. So we go to Pinterest, we've got a tough tray, we need to fill our tough tray.
Exactly.
No, we don't. There could be weeks when you don't get the tough tray out because it's not relevant.
Yeah.
It's a great tool when it's relevant. I mean, I saw a nursery. I loved what they were doing. They were putting videos of them setting up the day, and it was just beautiful. And they had this gorgeous outside space, and they got a tough tray, and they put in the tough tray, you know how much water you can get in a tough tray? Like, not a lot of water. And they had glitter, and then they had, I think they might have had some sprinkles of flowers and that sort of thing. And then they had like curry bowls from the curry house and Greek restaurant oil pourers. I don't know how you could have used that activity. I think
with that tiny bit of water, yes.
I think I probably watched it 10 times because I was trying to work out, well, what's the intentionality of this? Like, what would I gain from this activity? Why have you got glitter and flowers? If it's a pouring activity, why are you using a tough tray? Well, I was really, really struggling, but you could see so much love and thought had gone into curating the activity, but no connection to the development that was going to come from that activity.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I've with the tough trade, I've heard managers saying to me that we have a water tray, you have to use water tray every day. I'm like, no, I don't. I don't. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not trying to develop that a specific skill that needs a water tray. So no, I don't.
No. And it's a great tool. It's like everything. And there may be a day when nothing comes out because today's just not what you need. Today is all about me and you.
Yeah.
We're going to get down on the floor. We're going to go outside. Maybe we don't use a toy for a day. Yay! That's because developmentally, that's where we are. But I need to be able to justify that. I need to be, but not justify it for the sake of justifying it. I need to be able to know that this child, Harry, needs this because I observed him and this is where his interest lies. Whereas Freddie over here, he's on a totally different journey. And yet he still doesn't need toys, but his journey is on language today, whereas Harry's on physical or whatever it is. But and then you pull their development pathways through, and development happens over time and in a pattern and in sort of from the ground up. And if we miss gaps, we will have gaps in those foundations. And if we have gaps in the foundations, then everything that's built on top of that is wobbly.
Yeah, because then nothing is consistent and we don't have time to consolidate that. There's no way to, because the foundation is not solid.
And we know the children so well as well. Like we know the children. So it's just to get into that habit of thinking of the child instead of thinking of yourself and how you need to just set up, as you said, or just to put activities out.
Yeah.
You know the children, look at how they develop and what their needs are and what their interests are, and then you go from there. you start from there instead of from starting by setting up only.
And I think it's also, you're absolutely right. But it's also thinking, okay, so this child's development needs right now mean that, say for example, tummy time. Loads of kids don't like tummy time. So parents scoop them up because they cry. So when we put them on the floor and we give them tummy time and they cry, we sit them up and we put a ball in front of them. We sit them up so they can access the ball, because our focus is on them giving the experience of having the ball. Whereas actually developmentally, the experience should be that they need some tummy time. And the way that we are doing that, go back to what did you do wrong? The way that we're doing tummy time is not developmentally appropriate for this child yet. And therefore we need to modify the way that we give the experience of tummy time to this child. So we take the focus away from the ball. It's irrelevant because we're looking at the development of the child.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
But I think you pretty much answered my next question within everything you said. So my next question was about what it seemed to me from everything that I read, the 3 pillars for the brain building: play, connection, and warmth. I was going to ask about what the effect that they have on the developing brain.
I think so. And I think one of the things that's really important to hold on to is the new statutory guidance. This is embedded in 1.1 of the new statutory guidance, learning and development. It states, in fact, I can read it for you because I have it close to my heart, because I think it's so important that we focus on this. It says this section, the learning and development, section 1, learning and development requirements, and it starts, this section sets out what providers must do, working in partnership with parents and or carers, to promote the learning and development of all children in their care and to ensure their entire early years experience contributes positively to their brain development and readiness for key stage 1. And I think, and then it goes on to say, early years must, there's a blurb, a bit more, and then it says early years providers must guide the development of children's capabilities to help ensure that children in their care will fully benefit from future learning opportunities, and future opportunities. And so what it means is it is imperative that we build that brain foundation, because all development comes from the brain, and then we get that right in the very earliest phase so that our children are able to access the learning that we provide in the toddler room and we provide later on. And it's in our best interest, because not only is Ofsted going to say, yippee-doo, look at this, here's a brain building environment, but we're going to, more importantly, have babies coming through who make great toddlers and fabulous reception kids who are just gobbling up the learning and make our jobs so much easier. We make a rod for our own backs when we don't support early, because now we have to unpick all the problems and we need to rebuild in a period where the brain is now not optimally primed for development. There's an amazing graph that shows the malleability of the brain with effort over time from 2 to 70. Comes out as Harvard Center on the Developing Child, and it's worth looking up. But what it shows is that our babies' brains find it significantly easier to change and develop than our toddler brains. So there's even a significant gap between our youngest babies' ease of change and our oldest children's ease of change. So we're literally making a rod for our own back by not starting early. So we're a bit silly if we don't.
Definitely, yes.
Yeah, it also helps just mystifying at least the conception that I learned in the beginning of my career, that the babies only need to be fed and be kept like warm and nice, and you play a little bit, but there's nothing to do. Babies are boring, but that's the most important stage, isn't it?
Yeah, and the economics stack up as well, because there's a Nobel laureate prize winner, economics chappie called his name escapes me right now, but anyway, he did some research that showed the effort, the amount of money put in the earliest of days gives you a return on investment, a greater return on investment the earlier you put the money in, throughout life than the later you put. When we invest currently in our secondary schools,
Yeah.
we're not investing in our nurseries. So I know that's a hot political potato, but I just thought I would dump that bombshell there. That if
Well
we
done, thank you.
early, we would say we'd have a 13% return on investment for every pound spent. I mean, it's just clear.
Yep. Yeah.
So there you go.
Claire, thank you so much for your time today. I could be sitting here and talking to you all day. It's just
And learn from
fascinating.
you as well.
Oh, good.
Thank you so much for being here with
Well,
us.
Thank you for having me, and thank you for letting me be your very first podcast guest.
It's our privilege, honestly. It's just starting with you as the guest. It's just setting the bar very high.
Yes.
And
And what a way to start.
Yes, we couldn't be starting in any better way. Thank you so, so much.
Thank you so much.
Pleasure. I hope
Thank
it was
you,
useful.
thank you.